Hey, solopreneurs, quick note before this episode kicks off. This is part of the How to Grow Your Business series. I'm bringing in a whole bunch of experts between how to grow your business on LinkedIn to how to handle your team and make sure that you're managing your contractors the right way to really help you grow your business. I hope you enjoy these episodes and have a fantastic listen. Hey, solopreneurs, Gabe here. Today we have Lorette Pruden of Team Nimbus. She is going to teach us how to grow our business without employees. And since most every single one of you listening is a solopreneur, the whole reason we decided to do this solopreneur thing is because we didn't want to have a whole bunch of employees. We might want contractors that we can outsource to, but we definitely don't love having employees, and she has got some great wisdom to share. So please give it a listen. Lorette, thank you for being on Solopreneur Money.
Hi, Gabe. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about how to grow our businesses without employees. And I'm excited because that's something that's pretty near and dear to my heart as a solopreneur. Um, but we got to talk about your story. So help me understand your story. What brings you up to today?
One of the questions I get asked all the time after people hear a little bit of my story is how did a nice chemical engineer like you wind up coaching solopreneurs? So I guess I'll start there. I am a chemist and a chemical engineer by training. I worked for a long time for the Mobile Corporation as a research scientist and engineer. Um, and then we got bought out, as happens to people, and I tried to decide what to do next. What I had been doing there was had evolved towards working more with people than with molecules, I like to say. And so I took some team skills training that I had there, and the experience I had had in working on a high performing team, um, and set out to recreate some of that experience with my consulting and coaching clients. Um, so my feeling is if you've ever had the experience of working on a high performing team, you always want to get back on one. And as a solopreneur, which I then found myself as, right, that's an interesting dilemma because I had to learn to recreate that for myself. I was a sole practitioner for a while. I worked with a startup franchise business for a while because I wanted to work with the team. That's actually where the name Team Nimbus came from. And then, not all startup businesses succeed. And so that franchise didn't quite make it, but we learned a lot, had a wonderful time working with some really, really smart people. And so I just carried that flag. And that's been almost over 15 years now. Yeah. So ask me another question. Well, my life story
well,
is long. So
well, I love the life stories, but what I'll do is I'll ask the question: what was the franchise that you started with another group? Help me understand that.
well, it actually was the Team Nimbus name was the name of that franchise. It was started by some people who had a lot of experience working with small businesses, and we wanted to bring the some of the experiences of working in a mastermind team to those small business owners. Our methodology is great. It works. It wasn't my franchise. I didn't start it. So actually, I don't want to go too deep into that. It just, I would say, like many, many small businesses, we weren't quite ready for what we were trying to do. And so it just sort of dissolved out of, with goodwill on all sides. Many of us are small business owners who still work with that target market using the methods that we developed. So it was a great learning experience. It was a lot of fun. I made some lifelong friends doing that. And you know what, Gabe? Not every first business works. And that's a great lesson for the solopreneur to learn. The first thing that you start out with might not be it. right? Because what do we know when we started? I knew nothing about small business really when I got started. I worked for a Fortune 5 corporation for my whole career before that. Um, and so I did a lot of things wrong and some things right, and I'm still here. So, and part of the reason I'm still here is because I didn't try to do it by myself. I just because I was a solopreneur, and that's really the topic of today's talk, right? Is how to build a business without employees. Um, I needed mentors, I needed advisors, I needed coaches, I needed assistants, I needed marketing help, I needed sales training, I needed bookkeepers, I needed all of that. Um, I didn't know the order in which I needed them when I first started out. So I would, in my next life, I might do it at a different order. Um, but I finally figured out a way um, that works for me and a lot of other small business owners, which is what I wanted to talk to you about.
No, I was just gonna say let's go there because what I was gonna ask you was okay, what was the big like? What was the almost like the culture shock, the change of the things that you didn't know when you made that change from a Fortune 5 to your own company, but you literally just listed those off. And so what I think it would be great is let's keep going. Let's go down that road. Like how do you do what you do with your clients and then helping them to, figure out how to grow their businesses, without employees. Let's go there.
Actually, after about 10 or so years in this business, learning all these lessons, not only from myself, but also from my clients, by then I was learning a lot from my clients. I wrote a book about it. Not only my lessons, but lessons from other people. I can plug it, right? It's called Formerly Corporate. And the subtitle is Mindset Shifts for Success in Your Own Business. And in that, I gathered a lot of these lessons that I was just outlining for you. Um, One of the things that people think when they've had a corporate background is that all of those everything we learned in our corporate life is going to translate directly into a small business world. I see you smiling. So, and it's not that we didn't learn anything. It's not that we don't know anything. It's like it's kind of a quantum effect. I don't want to get too physical physics on you here, but the quantum effect really means that things don't work the same at different scales. So, really small things on a nano scale behave differently in the physical world than they do if they're big. So, we're quantum businesses. I take that example from one of my mentors who was a founder of Team Nimbus. That was a story that he used to tell about people don't you can't do things the same way you would if you were a great big company. Um, you have to be faster. You have to make decisions faster. You don't have a whole team of people or a hierarchy that's going to slow you down. On the other hand, you don't have anybody to help you do the work either. So it's just different, and there's lots and lots of examples in the book. One of them is about looking for your go-to people. Right? You look around at those that you don't have them, and you have to create them for yourself. A couple other pitfalls in there are when you first start, you don't even know what game you're playing. You don't even know where you're playing. You don't know if you're playing on a field or on a board or or online or whatever. You don't know the game, you don't know the rules, you don't know the people you need to know. It's just like so. Beginner's mind, right? Beginner's mind is a really important piece to get be successful in a small business, and yet you can't just use your own mind. You have to reach out, and that's how we get to growing your business without employees. And I'll tell you my favorite story about that because I saw this concept, like a vision when I was talking with one of my clients who'd been with us for a while, and she was a business writer, freelance business writer. She thought, well, they'll never pay me more than $35 an hour, and I can only make this much money. And we're like, I was like, yeah, I don't. There's more. There's got to be more. There's more. What is that? Eventually, she confessed, admitted to herself maybe that she really wanted to be an independent book publisher. This was in right before the last recession. It was around 2008, 7, 8, like that. Hardly a time to start a new business, we thought. Most people thought. Not to mention the book publishing business was totally on its head, turning upside down by then. Anyway, that's what she wanted to do. But, and this is what really applies to the solopreneur piece, but she didn't want any employees. She didn't want to bother with it. She didn't want to manage people. She didn't want any HR functions. She didn't want any payroll. She didn't want any. So she's not going to do that. And we were in a mastermind meeting with some other people. And when I had this vision, right, and I jumped up to my trusty flip chart and I said, look, Karen, you're already running an organization. And I drew what I've come to call now a starburst business. It's just a circle with the rays of the sun coming off of it, right? And on those rays are all the functions that you need to run your business. Some of the financial ones, like you, everybody needs a financial advisor. They need an attorney. They need a CPA. They need a business coach. They need some administrative help. None of those people are full-time. Nobody expects to have a full-time financial advisor, right? But we also need other functions in our business. And Karen needed graphic designers. She needed website designers. She needed editors. You can believe how many kinds of different editors there are if you're starting to write a book. And so she had some of those people that she was already working with. But they are not employees. And they're in the best of circumstances, and this is what I like to talk about when I talk about this starburst business idea. In the best arrangement, you have a reciprocal relationship, right? I distinguish it from hiring subcontractors. We're all familiar with that, right? You hire a subcontractor, whether they put tile in your bathroom or they build you a website. They're very happy that you called them to help them. They're very happy to do the work. They're very happy to get paid, and they hope that you'll call them again sometime, right? A few of them will help to bring you business. A few website designers will send you to their book publisher that they know, or to their coach, or to their own financial advisor, right? A few people will do that. And those are the people that help you run your business without employees. Now, because if you can imagine, here's one starburst over here, right? There's the sun, here's the rays. This person right here, who's my really best referral partner, they have their own, right? I mean, now they're the center of their own. I've never done this with my hands before, so they're the center of their own, right? And so you begin to build, in the best cases, a constellation of people that are connected, that are collaborative by nature. That's an important part of this. That are excellent at what they do, that have good connections of their own, and that are willing to share those connections and help everybody's business grow. So that's my picture of growing a business without employees. I'm happy to say that Ivan Meisner, let me just throw this in, Ivan Meisner, who's the founder of BNI, Business Network International, wrote about that starburst business idea, that it was a 21st century business model. About my book. He wrote it in the blurb for my book. So that was encouraging. Made me feel like I was on the right track. And that's a big part of what I teach in my private coaching and mastermind groups. Teach people how to think about that in a way that that they can reach out and start to build their own starburst businesses.
So let's go down the road. I got a couple questions. One is how should someone think about that? I mean, what's the mindset shift, or what's the thinking pattern that someone needs to have? And then the follow up question is how does a solopreneur start to look for those people? Are there certain steps or actions or activities to try to find those people?
There's many mindset shifts that you have to go through, but that particular one, um, I think at first you just have to accept the idea, right, that you don't have to have full-time people, and that you're all these part-timers or, associates or whatever role they fill are a tremendous asset to your business, right? It's not just about getting a particular project done. It's about building assets for your business. And you talk to people about building assets all the time. These are tangible assets, I would argue. You might have a different opinion about that, but I think that these relationships are tangible assets. And some of mine are now 15, 20 years old, but they don't come about right away. So, how do you develop them? I think was your next question. Well, let's put it in terms of networking, okay? Because everybody tells you have to go network, go meet people, go network. um, do a good job. Everybody will, as soon as you do a good, this is what I was told, right? As soon as you get one client and you do a good job for them, then they'll tell everybody they know. And now you have a steady stream of prospects. Yeah, right. You're shaking your head. No, no, I don't know. That's a corporate person who told me that, right? Like they don't know. That's not how it works. We have to plant the seeds. We have to till the fields. We have to water. We have to grow. We have to nurture. We have to take a little bit of something maybe before it's ready. And then we try to harvest. So that whole gardening story. Um, and so that needs a strategy, actually, to do
Mhm.
that well. It's a long term, time wise and some money investment in a strategy to find the people that are willing to work with you in that starburst fashion. And you know, can I say you have to kiss a lot of frogs along the way? You meet a lot of people, and not everybody's of that mindset. They might do a great job for you, but they just don't see it. So first, I think you have to have the vision that that's what you're looking for, and now I'm pretty straightforward with people that that's how I grow my business, part of how I do my business. And, I may or may not need their particular services right now, but if I were to, I would be looking for that kind of a relationship. And some people get it and some people don't. And, but it's really the vision that's the most important thing, I think, for a long time until you get it going. Because it's not natural to people. Even natural networkers, because that's a whole other skill set. We could do a whole other conversation about that, right? But even natural networkers, in that they like people, they talk to people easily, or they learn to talk to people easily, and they have a mindset for connecting people, right? That's a natural networker. Doesn't just meet a lot of people; they connect to those people. Even the natural networker doesn't necessarily see that some of those connections they make and some of the people that they meet could be an integral part of their business.
Interesting. So, as you're saying that, I'm recounting reading the book The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about connectors, and he talks about influencers and people. And so these connectors, they are fantastic at helping connecting you to other people. And so it would be great if, as a solopreneur, we could figure out who the connectors were, and figure out who the influencers are, and things like that. And if there was some type of a sign on top of them that said, hey, by the way, I'm a connector, I'm going to help you get connected to these people, because I see the value of the starburst type of business model. I actually use it myself. I really like it. And the issue that I'm curious of is, how does someone try to figure out who those connectors are? Because I like how you put it. You start with your vision. All right, this is how I want to try to build my business. I'm going to be upfront with people. I'm going to use you the best I possibly can, and I'm going to help you as much as I can. And I'm hoping that you can help me in return. Um, how do we go about trying to figure out if they're a connector? Do you have a thought on that?
I do. I actually think it's easier than people might think. Um, in any business community, in any community, but we're talking about a business community. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce, if you go to local, local business networking groups, if you get involved in your community activities, which I highly recommend to people, you'll see who the connectors are. You'll meet them and they will connect you to somebody. Or somebody will say, Gabe, you have to meet uh, John Smith. He knows everybody. Here, John, this is Gabe. And John goes, oh, I know 27 other financial advisors, right? Or business coaches or real estate salespeople or whatever. But John, if he's the expert, will start to match people up a little bit by personality. I think they might work together, or specialty or something like that. But they're out there. We're out there. Actually, some people think that I am one of those in my community. The person that says, oh, Lorette knows everybody, you know, that's what you want to listen for. And then, like in building any relationship, you have to give something first. You can't just like, well, hello, could you, you have to do something. You have to help people. You have to help other people. Sometimes you have to join the organization, right? Sometimes you have to volunteer. But those are all great things. Here's a little story. You might like this. Our listeners might like this. So 20 years ago this summer, um, I was standing in our local coffee shop reading the bulletin board because the line was long because it's such a great coffee shop. And there was an ad for a manager for the farmers market in my town. First of all, I'm like, what farmers market? Because it was brand new. I hadn't heard anything about it. And I'm kind of a foodie, and I'm not a farmer, but I come from farming folks. And I just thought it sounded like fun. And I was still doing corporate consulting at that point, which it was summertime. And, if you don't have your corporate consulting stuff lined up for the summer, nothing is happening. They're all going on vacation. So I was like, well, I could do that. It's a couple hours a week. Well, so I applied for the job, and, and I got it. And it's 20 years later. And we are a successful local farmers market. We're sponsored by the Montgomery Friends of Open Space here in New Jersey. I'll plug them too. That and founding the local business association, refounding, I guess, it had come and gone over many years. I was a co-founder of the latest iteration of our local business association. And between those two things, that's how people got to know me in my town. And this is New Jersey, so the towns are right up on top of each other. And so next door in Princeton and here and there. Um, so those two things have done a tremendous amount to connect me, along with some business networking stuff that I've done. And I said I was active in BNI, to connect me with people who see me as a resource. And so, to go back to how do you find your own connectors, you look for the people who are resources and probably offer to help them would be a good way to get started. Um, yeah, and that little hobby job of the farmers market has brought me some pretty decent consulting work in the food and agricultural industry world, right? Which I really enjoy, and gives me a different hat to wear, makes me stand out a little bit. people always love to hear about the farmers market. That's another question. How did a nice chemical engineer like you get to be running the farmers market? Well, it's just, when opportunity knocks, I always think you should open the door and look out, at least look out and see what it is.
I love that. That is absolutely awesome. Standing in a coffee shop, waiting in line. Huh. That's interesting. Maybe I'll take a look at that. That is really interesting. And what that has done for you, one, it's probably given you a fantastic other outlet outside of what you were doing, and put you in front of a whole bunch of different people that you wouldn't have been in front of on a regular basis or around, and the relationships that have come from that. That's really interesting.
And it finally dawned on me, let me just throw this in. It finally dawned on me that I could actually be a sponsor of the farmers market in my own business hat, right? And so, but that took a long time before I figured that. I was a little shy about doing that at first. It seemed like I don't know what, but but it's fine. And so I write them a check every year, and I get my name on the poster, and I can put my own flyers and stuff out. And because making that connection between my business and being a market manager was not so easy to do until I started to do it. So that's lesson learned there too.
Yeah, it's amazing when you actually start to do things, how easy it starts to become. Things that we thought before we did them were so hard. Um, Stepping over and just taking that chance. It's amazing what that does for you. So, is there anything else you would like to share, regarding the whole idea of the starburst business model and how to grow our business without employees? We're starting with a vision. We're going to be strategic with that and find those connectors and figure out how to help them to network with them. Is there anything else you'd like to share regarding that?
I would just like to shift the topic a little bit. It is connected, but um, one of the things that I help my clients do is what I call build a profitable business plan. You'll probably appreciate that. There are certainly unprofitable business plans out there, and there are business plans that banks want to see or that investors might want to see. But for most solopreneurs, those are not only not needed, they're a tremendous waste of time and resources to try to build one of those. So I I help people um, build a plan, an operational plan, really. What am I going to do this year? How much money do I want to make? What am I going to do about customers? Do I need more? Do I keep the ones I've got? What about my own business processes? What can I do to make those better? That's where hiring a VA can come in a big help, right? What do I need to learn? And and what am I going to do this quarter, this year, next year to make those things happen? And those are that's a leading indicator sort of a model as opposed to waiting to find out what happened, right? And so that's really important. And your Starburst business partners come in there really and really can be a big help to that. You can co-market, you can send business to them that makes them even more happy to do business with you. There's a lot of things that can come in with that part. So it's not just about making the connections, it's about putting those connections to work in a really practical way that will let you grow your business if that's what you want, or at least have a profitable business.
Yeah, the profitability has a tendency to be kind of important. We don't start businesses to become charities, although there's a whole lot of people out there that are running very successful nonprofits. And what I mean by that is they're not profitable. They're working like crazy and they're not getting it done. So let's go down that road for just a second. What are some of the things you're seeing that solopreneurs are maybe making the mistake of when it comes to running a profitable business?
I think one of the big places where people make a mistake, especially in the early days, is they don't expect to be profitable. Somewhere they heard this idea that you won't be profitable for 3 years, and so you shouldn't worry about being profitable. Just just get your logo designed, and make your website perfect and get your business cards ready and I don't know, make your wardrobe match your brand colors and all of that stuff. People just spend thousands of dollars and weeks and months and years on that kind of stuff. Almost, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but almost before they make a sales call. They're afraid to make a sales call, so they just try to dress up and look good. And I'm guilty, believe me. I'm guilty of all this. I have a beautiful logo for my first business. My daughter designed it for me. I love it. It's great. It worked, but I needed to make some sales first, and I need to make some sales today and tomorrow and the next day. So it's very easy for people to get tangled up in what I like to call, well, this is an expression from the South where I grew up, which is I'm fixing to get ready to do something, right? And that whole fixing to get ready thing keeps people from their profitability a really long time. I counsel people, first of all, startups don't really want to pay me, but they need help, and so I send them to the SBDC or to SCORE, someplace where they can either get some free help or some uh, help they've already paid for with their tax money, right? We all pay for that with our tax money, so somebody should use it and get their ideas and get things straightened out, and get going, and then when you figure out that there's things you don't know how to do, that's a good time for them to come, and talk to me or you or their accountant about, so where is the money leak here, right? If I'm not profitable yet.
Yeah, I on the promotion of my book, I was on multiples of podcasts, and a lot of them were entrepreneurial podcasts, and they were asking me, um, what's your advice for these solopreneurs who are making the change? Because a lot of these were people who are going from corporate to solopreneur. And the biggest thing I tell every single one of them, and anybody that ever asks me, they're like, well, what kind of business should I start? Or I want to go on my own, or I want to leave this job and go do this. I basically just tell them, I'm not worried about the type of business. Take whatever you're going to do, but let's not worry about getting the new website. Let's not worry about getting the new business cards, the new wardrobe, the brand new truck, or whatever. Just go get clients. Can you get clients? And can you repeat that process? Because if you can get clients and repeat the process, now you have a business. And then all the other things start to fall into play. Are you pricing it right? Are you profitable? And then everything else falls into place. And so, that was the thing when I first started out in this world. I came right out of college into the financial services and insurance industry, and I came in and I was like, I just need clients. I need clients. And I remember marveling at people who were working in jobs who were then going to be able to go start a business or had already built a clientele while working to make that change. And I was just so jealous of that in the very beginning. Like, they have clients. They have the ability to make money and make that change and still make money, where I was starting from zero. I had no clients, and it was like, let's get going. And so my biggest advice for anybody listening, if you're one of those listeners that's a solopreneur who's looking to make a change, make sure you have clients and you can repeat that process. Don't worry about all the rest of the stuff. Get clients and then figure out how to run the business after that.
It's a lot easier to run a business with a cash flow coming in. There are lots of other ways to start a business, as you well know, and some of them you have to do a little bit of it. You might do a little bit of credit card financing. You might be able to do a little bit of, don't put your house up there. Don't put your retirement funds up there, even though it looks tempting. You know, there that way be dragons. So the more you can, not that good debt isn't a good thing, but don't decide all that on your own. That's another place where you really need outside input. Um, we didn't talk about that too much today, but that don't go it alone part as a solopreneur, That's really the whole basis of the starburst idea, right? Get other people to help you, leverage your relationships, leverage people's um, willingness to work together. Um, and you can have a thriving, profitable business without employees if you treat the people that you work with well.
That's a great way to end that piece on it. So we're going to move into my financial questions. This is a podcast about money. There's three questions I ask every single guest. And the first is, what's the smartest thing you've done regarding money? And tell me that story.
The smartest thing I've done about money recently, well, in the midst of the pandemic and all the stuff that was going on over the last 2 or 3 years, was to reach out for all the resources that were suddenly available to the solopreneur that were not before. And that's not an ongoing thing, but the because there's not that much there, but there was a huge amount of funding available to the small business community. And I hope that our government has figured out that that was a good investment. So the smartest thing I ever did was I looked for that. I got some grants. I took a small SBA loan, which I'd never been eligible for before, right? And so now I have some capital behind my business, even though that's which I didn't really have before, except the kind you didn't want to spend, right? So how you fund your business is really a huge piece, and so that's the smartest thing I did. And I've done some dumb things too. You're going to ask about that.
That's the next question. What's the biggest mistake you've made regarding money? And tell me that story, or stories if you prefer.
Well, there's a lot of those stories. I think the biggest mistake I made was in the business model that I started to work with. Now, so I'm on sort of my third leg of things, right? I started out doing corporate consulting, um, and then I was in a franchise that franchise business, and then I went on my own, and the business model that I was working with was not a profitable business model. I didn't know any better at the time, and I didn't. So it took me a while to get a grip on that. So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to talk to Gabe or me about what does that mean, a profitable business model. But if you're not priced right, and if your target market isn't identified well, then you may not stand a chance to be a profitable business. And a lot of people just kind of miss that, I think. So that was my biggest mistake. I didn't have a profitable business model at first.
And that happens. I mean, there are a lot of accidental entrepreneurs out there who have turned out, um, frankly, against their own luck. I mean, basically, have turned out better than they should have accidentally, because people don't always know how to actually put a profitable business model together. They don't know how to charge properly. They don't know how to do all those things that they need to do. So that's a fantastic lesson. Understanding your business model and making sure that it's profitable from day one is that's a great thing for people to learn from those of us who have screwed that up. And I screwed that up in the past. So
Exactly.
I totally get it. Yeah, that's a great lesson. So the last question I ask everybody regarding money is, what does mastering your finances mean to you?
I was thinking about that before I came on here. And what it really means for me now, it's not about how much money I'm making, it's about being comfortable with my financial situation. So, how big is your nut, as they say, right? What do I have to cover every month? That changes depending on, whether your kids are still at home or when they get out of college, or whether you're have a big mortgage or it's paid off, or you sell your house and downsize, which is what we did after a while, a few years ago. Um, we've reduced our monthly nut, and we are in a position where we can pay that without actually having to go make a whole ton of extra money, right? And that's very comforting and comfortable. Um, so I think that's it. I guess that's some version of living within your means. Um, but there have been times when I was a little out over my skis, as they say, and I don't like that. That's not comfortable. So I like to be comfortable.
So the mastering of your finances is having a place that you're comfortable. In what I would call in your financial picture, you're comfortable.
Right. I can pay all the things I'm obligated to pay. I can do some things I like to do that are for fun. We can go travel and see our kids. We have some savings, you know, it's good. It's good. Could there be more? Sure, there can always be more, but
The piles can always be bigger. You are correct. Yes. Yeah, they can always be bigger. Well, so how can my listeners find you if they would like to reach out and connect with you? What's the best way?
probably the best way to connect with me, well, there's two ways. One is I'm on LinkedIn like everybody else. So my LinkedIn profile will be in the notes here, but it's really, once you get through all the shrubbery on the first end of the link, it's just my name, Lorette Pruden. And if people would like to talk with me about their business and see if we might be able to work together, I'm happy to do that. I always try to give people something they can take away with, whether they engage me or not. And you can book a call with me at Call with Lorette. That's LORETTE.com. That goes to my calendar. You can pick a time. We can spend a half hour or so seeing how your business can get better as a result of that half hour with me. Callwithlorette.com.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Lorette, thank you for being on Solopreneur Money.
Thank you so much, Gabe, for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, Solopreneurs, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Lorette Pruden of Team Nimbus. My 3 takeaways for you are: 1, have a vision of what you are trying to accomplish. And that happens no matter what type of business you're building. You got to have a vision with where you're trying to go. 2, be strategic. Be strategic with your relationships and your connections so that you can continuously grow your business through your connections and through those relationships, through referrals and through the opportunity to work with each other's clients and continue to uplift and scale up our businesses. And number 3, you don't have to go it alone. There's always people out there that you can outsource to, they can outsource back to you, and really continue to allow yourselves to grow your business. And it's amazing what I've learned over my career is the relationships that get built really come together and just really makes it all worthwhile. So my 3 takeaways: vision, be strategic, and remember, you don't have to go it alone. Thanks for listening. I truly appreciate it. And please share this podcast with a friend. Have a fantastic day.